Namaste, beloved. I'm ALANA FAIRCHILD. Let's talk about creativity and maybe some little hacks to the creative space and the creative process. I think human beings are innately creative. We can't help ourselves. We're constantly thinking and projecting and interpreting and coming up with stories about why things are the way they are. So humanity is creative. The question is more, are we going to be creative in an intentional and conscious way, and maybe even in an inspired way that has far-reaching benefit? Because when you are tuning into spiritual inspiration, for example, it has this beautiful inherent intelligence that wants to be of benefit to all beings. So the best way I know to tune into that spiritual inspiration that can bring benefit is to connect with the heart, to what it is that you love, to what it is that just lights you up from within and makes you feel like you are willing to cross the threshold into the sometimes intimidating, but I feel always amazing and beautiful and nourishing in this really unique way, creative unknown realm. The realm of the unknown, where all the good stuff happens because all the solutions that we haven't found yet, all of the information that we need and haven't yet discovered, all of the potential pathways to happiness and peace that we are yet to experience, all rest in the unknowing space. So, and it also happens to be, of course, the creative space. It's one and the same. So tapping into that space is really part of our human legacy spiritually, but also very different to the way society's been conditioned. So you don't have to be in society very long to recognize that there are these kind of driving belief systems and ways of being, and reactivity instead of creativity is one of the primary drivers. You point fingers, you react, you judge. It's a way of dealing with the stress and the challenge of being alive. It's not particularly a good way, but it's a way that we're taught and it's familiar. And the creative process can be an answer to that, an alternative, a way to say, I see what's happening in the world. Reaction and judgment is sometimes instinctive, but it doesn't feel so great. And I would like to consider that there could be something else that I could offer, a different kind of contribution than just kind of continuing to inflame what is already a little bit out of control in terms of suffering and pain in our world. So to have that desire and that intention and that willingness to maybe think about how you could offer something in a different way is really the gateway to the creative realm. It's very exciting. So when you decide to do that, there's something that you're going to need. It's really important, and the creative process can't happen without it, and that is space. You need some spaciousness. And you might be thinking, well, ALANA, how am I going to do that if, I'm in lockdown, or if, I don't have a separate space to create in? I understand, I really do. The process doesn't necessarily require a lot of physical space, and that's the beauty of it. What it does require is internal spaciousness. So the way that we start to create that begins with unplugging from mainstream consciousness and the outer world and crossing the threshold intentionally into our inner world and giving ourselves permission to sit in a place of not knowing with heartfelt openness and desire to manifest something that is true and perhaps beautiful or authentic or moving or powerful, whatever it is that you're feeling within, that sense of the quality, the desire, the need to be fulfilled that you're yearning to give expression to. And you don't have to know anything other than, I need to create something. I don't know what it is, how exciting to find out, but it needs to happen. And that is enough. That puts you in that place of that potential for ripeness, for listening, for being impressed upon by the universe and shown what it is that would be the next step for you by gaining that initial inspiration. I think of it sometimes, that initial inspiration, like a tiny little knot that's kind of poking out from the fabric of the universe. And I was describing this recently, that when I sense that, it's like, that's enough. It's that initial little nub of creativity, and then you can slowly start to pull it through and become aware of the threads, and then you think about how you want to weave them together. But for me, at least, the hardest part or it's not even that hard now, I've learned how to do it, but the consuming part, the unpredictable part, the part that might need a really long period of time to percolate, or might happen like that, and it just needs courage for you to acknowledge and grab on and not talk yourself out of something, is that initial inspiration part where you go, there it is. And then you don't want to step in and start to impose the ways of the world on it prematurely, if at all. You want to allow it to come through and be nurtured in your own consciousness as you start to feel it and you start to reflect upon it and allow it to sort of percolate and bubble away in the soul as it starts to begin to shift from inchoate inspiration into form, what it might look like, what it might sound like, what it might feel like. And that depth and understanding evolves from within. It's not given to you from the outside. It's not given to you from a marketing person who says you must create this. It just seems like a bit of a paradox, really. It's something that arises organically and from within, and it requires space and a little bit of attention to be able to do that. So to be creative, to be connecting to that energy really requires permission to step outside of the repetition loop in mainstream culture, unplug from it and give yourself permission to enter into the possibility of what may be. I absolutely know in the depth of my bones, in the depth of my being, that there are beautiful things that want to enter the world through your heart, through your mind and your body. I know that everything that needs to manifest will do so in its own time and its own way, in its own form. We can't predict it. We certainly can't control it, but we can contribute to it. We can become part of that creation of goodness and grace that wants to manifest in our world. So I really encourage you to think about not only your own experience and benefit from embracing your creativity, whatever that may be for you, from how you set up an altar, to the clothing or the colours that you use in your home, to that beautiful book or piece of writing that you just want to create, or that piece of music or the dance that you need to experience and express in your lounge room, whatever it is. I know that in that process there is so much that can flow into the world, so much that can bring benefit and nourishment to more than just yourself. So let's remember that, and let's recognize that even individual creativity can become a beautiful collective contribution when we trust our hearts and we allow ourselves to be guided by something beyond what it is that we currently know, the true essence of the creative path. I hope this has been helpful. And I really encourage you to trust your heart, to trust your voice, and to trust your process. Lots of love. Namaste.